Can you guys hear me? Yes? Okay, cool. All right, we're doing CTF Lean U today. So the write-up is on the website, blackgirlshack.org/FNL. It is in Try Hack Me, so you just need to go in here like you would normally would. If you are new, you can check out the walkthrough here on the website. It is the last one. We were supposed to do this last week, but then I had a family emergency, so we're doing it this week. And it takes a couple of minutes to kick off the IP on the victim machine as well as the attack terminal. So I will give you a couple of minutes to get that kick started, but we are doing the room called Lian Yu. If you could give me a thumbs up when you are at this point and ready to go, we will get started, or 3 minutes, whichever happens first. All right, I see one ready. Other folks? All right, approximately 46% done. So we will wait. All right, looks like we are good to go. All right, so if you have just hopped in, we are doing the LIAN room, and the walkthrough is on the Friday Night Labs website at the very bottom in case you need to catch up. All right, so we're going to start this the way that we do any other of our capture the flag competitions. We're going to start it with the in-map scans. So I usually just do, because we're not trying to stay hidden, just an aggressive scan to get me everything off the break. So my IP address is here underneath this active machine section. Yours may be, probably will be different. All right, so when we do that, we see it looks like 4 IP addresses that are open. We have an FTP, which is always a good idea. A SSH web server on port 80 and RPC on port 111. Tells us that this is a Linux machine. So we have deployed the VM. It says we're looking for web directories, files, FTP passwords, SSH passwords, and then our standard user form. So I'm just going to collapse this so we can get started. All right, so it tells us that we have FTP, OpenSSH, and our web server. So let's check out our web server first. So the first thing we're going to want to do is take a look at the page source to see if there's anything on there that is interesting. So I don't see any username and password type things. And I don't see any like directories that we can use to start taking a look at. So we need to do a directory search to try to figure out what's going on. So we can use something like, GoBuster? Let's see. All right, so GoBuster is what I used in the, and your IP address is again underneath your, for your victim machine, it's not going to be the same as mine. So what this says is that we want to do a GoBuster search for the URL, and we're doing that specifically for our IP address on our, all right, let me do, actually, for our initial GoBuster, I don't need the dir, I don't think. Let's see. Required list word. I don't know why we would need a word list right now, but I will play along. All right, so we see that there is an island that is available off of the main with a status of 301. So let's check that out while it's running. And it says, oh no, don't talk. I wasn't expecting you at this moment. I will meet you there. You should find a way to land you as we plan. The code word is, and there is no code word. So if we view the page source, we see that there is a code word, but it is in white, which is why we can't see it. So, but it is vigilante. Okay, and our GoBuster has completed. So it tells us that there is a service status page that is there as well as the island one. All right. So now that we have that, let's do another search, but we're going to do the IP address and island to see if there's anything interesting off of the island directory. All right, so we see that there is a, looks like 2100 directory off of the island page. So let's check that. And it says how Queen Oliver finds his way to Lean U. And there's a page. It says you can avail your ticket here, but how? And we're looking at the source of the page. So I need to actually put the 100 over here. And it gives us a YouTube page that we can watch, which is what we see here. You can avail your ticket here, but how? You can avail your dot ticket here, but how? All right, so let's just do another search, but we're going to do it now, specifically looking for something that has the extension dot ticket. And I think we need to do it with the 2100. We'll find out in a minute. Any questions so far? All right, so I'm going to run that again, but I'm going to run it off of the 2100 directory. And we see that there is a green arrow dot ticket that's responding. So we can say green arrow dot ticket. And it says, this is just a token to get into the Queen's Gambit ship. All right, so we should probably figure out what this means. And we're going to put it into from base. Let's see. Input. So what we're looking for is base, from base 58. And we see that it is, looks like maybe a password, maybe. All right, so we've got, what do we have on here? Our Nmap scan showed us a couple of things. Let me see if we have any of the answers first before I go. What is the web directory that we found? We found two. There was one that says island and the other one says 2100, but this one is specifically for characters, so we can try that one. What is the file name we found? And this one was called greenarrow.ticket. And next up, it's asking us for FTP password. So I'm going to assume that this is for FTP, but we have two things. So we have FTP and then 10.10.77.230. And it wants to know our name. And let's see. Let me see. Oh, we have another piece of information that we're not using yet. We had a code word. So let's try the code word. So FTP this vigilante. And I think that this is the password. And that let us in. So when we do that, we see that there are two pictures. There's three pictures. Two of them are PNG and one of them is a JPEG. Let's see. And it wants to know what's the FTP password. So I can copy this and put it here. And what is the file name with the SSH password? All right, so we haven't gotten there yet. So let's get all of these files. So we're going to say get leave me. I want to, you can't tab it out. So get leave me alone .png. And then we're going to say get queens gambit.png. And we're going to say get a.jpg. And I'm going to leave this logged in to this FTP server in case we need it later. And I'm just going to open up a new tab. So if I say ls, all three of those files that I have gotten should be here. So I can say strings AA to find out if there's anything interesting in here. And I don't see anything interesting. We can say strings, let me just do a file on AA just to make sure that it actually says it's a JPEG. It is. So we can do the same for leave me alone. And it says it's a data file. So I can say strings, leave me alone. See if there's anything interesting in here. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the third file, which is the Queen's Gambit. So file. And it tells us it's a PNG image, which is what it looks like. And then we're going to say strings. And there is nothing interesting. So let's just go take a look at the files and see if the pictures themselves have anything. Let's see. AA is just a picture of a guy. Queen's Gambit is a picture of a ship. And leave me alone says that it is not a PNG file. But I think when we did, let's see. I think when we did file, okay, so let's say cat, leave me alone. And I don't see anything interesting in there. So let's see what else is of interest is in the FTP server. All right, so of other things of interest, we have a other user file. Is which one a executable? The last file I tried to open, it said it was a data, which is not an executable, but it's marked as a PNG, but we can't actually display anything in there. So in here, we see that there are a couple of other files. We see that there is a other user file, so let's just get that. And there's a dot dash history. Oh, wait. So we'll get those two and see if there's anything interested in there. Clear this. All right, so we have, say, ALT again. So we have the two files. The first one was the bash history, and the other file was the other user. So let's see what's in those. And it looks like we have a story. Let's see the story. There's nothing useful in the story. All right. So the only thing that's shown up interesting so far is the fact that this leave me alone, which is called leave me alone, doesn't appear to actually be a PNG. So let's take a look and see what we can find out about that. I think we want to do a hex dump to see. Let me figure out what page we're on. So, all right, so we're going to use XXD. So XXD, leave me alone.png, and we're going to say, we just want to look at the header to see if someone has changed it. So when we look at that, we see XEO and not PNG. So at the beginning of the header for a PNG file should actually be PNG. And they're supposed to start with specific characters, which is not what this one actually starts with. So let's see, let's use a hex editor to make changes to the file. Okay, so we're going to say EOF. So apt, we're going to say apt install, and we're already in here as root, so we don't need to do sudo. So apt install incurses dash hex edit. All right, so now that we've done that, we can use the ncurses. That's not the one we want. Why did I decide to do a hex dump, right? So because of the fact that it wasn't matching up, so it said that it was a data file, but the file had a .png extension, and combined with the fact that it said leave me alone, probably should have indicated to me sooner that it was something that we needed to investigate, right? So generally, if you see that if it's a certain type of file, so like if it had said that it was a .text file, then we could have just copied it over into a text format. But because it said it was data, then we needed to take a look at the header to see whether or not it was actually showing up as the same type of file as it said it would be. Sometimes, you know, you'll see in these types of exercises that it'll actually tell you, like, even though it says it's a PNG, that it's a text, or it'll be like this is really a zip, and then you could just change the extension. But if not, then you have to take a look at the header and see, especially if it's an image file. So in this case, we expect that image file should start with the PNG, and then that PNG actually is represented by certain characters in hex. So because it doesn't, then that's why we're going to go in here and say the header identified XEO, which is not PNG. I don't know what XEO is actually indicator, or if it's an indicator of anything, but it's not, you know, PNG or JPEG or TXT, or, you know, whatever it is that we may be looking for. So we're going to take a look at this, and it allows us to be able to edit this. So we're going to place the cursor over, let's see, we want to make this .png here. So we need to replace the following. So in the document that I gave you guys, you'll see the code that it needs to be. So you can just copy that and put it into, so 895. It did not copy correctly. It is there correct. So we want to replace the beginning of this file with these characters. So we can collapse this. And I should just be able to paste. But do I need to get rid of the other characters first? I do. So let's see if I can Control Z that, and I'll come back in here. So I want to get rid of the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 8. So I'm just going to type them in so that they don't. So 89, 50, 4E, 47, 0D, 0A, 1A, 0A. So you'll notice that this actually changes it from .xeo to .png, which is what we want it to be. So we can save it. So in order to save it, you need to say Control X. And we just want to leave it the same. And now we can go to see if there's anything interested in there. So now we have a picture, and in the picture it says, just leave me alone. Here, take it what you want password. All right, so now that we have the password, let's see what the next thing, I think this is probably the SSH. So what is the file name with the password? Is it leave me alone? There's not enough characters. Oh, all right, we'll come back to that. All right, so we're going to take a look. We already see the file. It says just take what you want. Here's the password. All right, so we need to try to see if there's any hidden information in any of these pictures. So we're going to use steg hide. So we're going to say steg hide, and I'm going to start with the leave me alone. So steg hide, I think it's info. All right. And we can only use steg hide on JPG. So we're going to start with the AA folder, AA file. What is the correct? Oh, we need a flag. All right, steg hide extract -sf. And we need the passphrase. And the passphrase we assume is going to be password. Yep, thank you. So it produced a zip file. So we're going to say, before we do that, let's see if there's any other one. Steg hide extract -sf, and then the other file was called Queen's Gambit, I think. And actually that's a PNG, so this is not going to work because this only works for JPEGs. So we can go ahead and say ls and then take a look at the zip file. So if we say file ss zip, it tells us that it is actually a zip file. So we can say unzip. You should spell it correctly though. And then it gives us two files. It gives us a password.txt file and a, looks like a shadow file maybe. So if we see those, we'll say cat password and see what's in there. And it says, this is your visa to land on land view, just for fun, a small note about it. Some stuff in here. And then let us say also cat shadow. Let's see if there's anything interesting in there. And it says, okay, so maybe that's actually our password for our SSH maybe. Oh, but it's going to want to know where we got the password from. So that's the name of the file. So we can say shado, and that should hopefully be the correct answer. It is. All right, so we now have a password, hopefully. So we can SSH in, and if I had to guess, I'd say that we're logging in as, let's see. So how do we know the user's name? A small note about it. Yes, so. Oh, wait, we have another file that I am forgetting. It is our .other user. And it tells us that the other user's name was Slade. So we're going to use that to log in. So SSH Slade at the IP address was somewhere. 77.230 is mine. Yours is going to be different. 230. And we're going to say yes, we really want to. And I think that the password is in my, yes, it is. So I'm going to paste. And we are in here. So we're going to be looking for two things. We're going to be looking for a user.text. So that gives us our first flag. So you can copy this hopefully better than I can. Put it into your clipboard and copy it again. And then put that in the user.text. And we're going to look for the root file. So all right, so we need to look for the root file. Probably if we were to say, let's say, vigilante. Just want to look around and see if there's any vigil. Oh, okay, that's the file that we had earlier. All right, so I don't see a admin folder, so we need to do some kind of privilege escalation. So we can say sudo-l to see if there's anything interested. Our password is no longer in my let's see. Where was the password? Oh, there we go. This is why you're supposed to keep notes. We're going to log in. So it tells us that we can run the following commands as Lee and you. We can run the password command as root. So we're going to do that. Anytime it tells us that we can run something, we're going to want to do it. So we're going to go check out and see what we can do from PKE exec. So to do that, we're going to go to what is it called? GTF opens IO. GTF opens. All right, and we want to put in here the one that we need access to, which was, no, that's not it. It's PK exec. See what we can do in here. All right. And it tells us that we can say sudo, and we can use the PK exec to actually run bin-sh. So we're going to copy that. And I hope I don't need the password again because I just got rid of it. And when we say that, we get a root. And you can confirm that by saying, who am I? And it says that I am root. So we can say ls. And then we can say cat root.text. And we have what has to be the longest flag ever. And we can put that over here. And do we need anything else? No, we do not. All right, so any questions? No questions? All right. If not, we have how did you escalate? Oh, okay. So generally when you after you get your user level access, let me see if I can go back. After you use your user level access, we do a sudo -l to see if there's any privileges that we're able to use. So in this case, it tells us that we're able to use the pk exec bin and run that as root. So that's why we went to GTOF bins to find out how to use that. And it tells us that we can, using this program, be able to execute bin.sh. So when we do that, it gives us our shell, which is root access, which is what we needed, so that we can then, take a look at the root.txt file. You're very welcome. All right, any other questions from anyone? So if you missed something, if there was some magic or foolery that you thought that happened, you can just take a look at the file on the website that has the walkthrough on it, so that you can, see what happened. All right, so if no one else has any questions, you guys have a good night. You're very welcome, and I will see you in the Slack.